All right. Sorry, this one took a little bit longer. Had a couple of super busy weeks, but wanted to finish up this song by my friend Whitney. Today we're going to go through the vocal chain. It's not a whole lot going on. It's pretty simple. So we just have the vocal chain, and then we're going to go in how we went about mastering it. So we're going to cover those two things now, so stick around. All right, so right now here we can see the voice, or rather the project. Like I mentioned, this has been mastered already. So there was some things done behind the scenes that I'm not going to show all of. So there could be a little bit of a couple of things that I'm just going to list what I did, but I'm not going to go around. I'm not going to mix per se in this video because I did do that on the back end with the artist. She had some things that she wanted to see in regards to the voice, so we kind of worked with that. In terms of the chain, so we have the bus here, we have the main vocals, we have a couple of background vocals. Let's just take a listen to what these vocals sound like as is, and we'll see how we can check them out.
En medio del dolor, en cada situación, tú no me dejas, no te alejas, gracias Dios.
Skip a little ahead.
A ti estás levantando muertos, me levantas a
You see
mí.
those background vocals coming now.
Es tu bondad la que me sostienes, en tus manos están mis tiempos, en ti confío, mi Dios.
So, like I mentioned in the past couple of videos, shout out to Brandon. He actually helped us with the background vocals. This is him here. He did a couple of the, I think he did like 2 voices, and then we just panned them to give that big wide vocal. In terms of what we're doing with the channels, so the main bus where everything is being processed, I'm just giving a bit of a gentle boost or a bit more of aggressive boost on these high mids around 2,500, a bit of a dip at 1,400, a little bit of kind of resonance there that I wasn't liking, but I did give it a little bit of body. You know, so we bumped it up on to give it a little bit of air, and then we dropped down over here, just kind of having a couple of frequencies that I didn't like. Let's check those out.
Dios, y jamás seré confundido.
Airiness in the voice.
Clamo a ti, tú me respondes con tu voz.
So in general, we just wanted to add a little bit more air to get it a little bit crispier, so the vocals wanted to sound a little bit better in the mix, right? Then we went with the channel N. This is a Neve style channel. We went with the preset vocal female rock. I don't think I touched this very much. I might have just played around with the compression ratio and things like that, just to get it sounding, and then the master gain, and added some age and things like that. But I mainly just kind of stuck with the preset.
Voz que calma los miedos, aunque quebrante mi voz, tú Jesús eres mi aliento.
So that's giving like some saturation, some coloring into it. Like I mentioned in the other videos, these things add up, so you don't want to be like super aggressive with them because the channel itself will have processing, right? So you don't want this to be, you don't want to overprocess your bus either, right? Then we have an 1176 style compressor from Analog Obsession. Again, this is not hitting it too hard. Same with the, with the Lalan. This is also from Analog Obsession. This is an LA2A style. This vocal chain 1176 into the LA2A is like the classic. It's like those two compressors side by side will give you the vocal that you're looking for more often than not. And then at the end, we just have a little bit of fresh air to give it a little bit more crispiness into the vocal.
Tus manos están en mis tiempos, en ti confío, mi Dios, y jamás.
So, obviously, that's gonna just make the vocals cut better in the mix, right? That's the whole goal with this entire thing. We want the vocals to cut in the mix. We want them to be nice and present above the instruments, obviously not too far detached from them, but we want them to cut. And then what we're doing here, we actually had a couple of extra takes that she came in and did. That's why I have a couple of touch-ups and kind of repeat channels. Normally I would just have this on the one channel unless I have like harmonies. But for whatever reason, I just decided to keep them there. So, in terms of the actual channel itself, right? We went with Melodyne in the beginning. I think I'm still on a trial. Actually, I have to probably buy this at some point. We have Melodyne to get a little bit of the pitchiness and order. We wanted to go for a very clean vocal take, so this is very subjective. Some people are okay with being a little bit pitchy and just overall having maybe a bit less processed sound. This is going to depend on you. If you want a supernatural vocal, if you have a vocalist that can do that as well, that's all going to vary a lot. But we wanted a very clean, we're used to pop music sounding process, so it's not something that's going to stand out to you, especially with the rest of the instruments, but it is something that we wanted to be super clean. We didn't want too much pitchiness in there. Went with the classic Filk channel, as I always do on everything. Turned off the saturation. I think the EQ is also doing nothing. This is just a little bit of compression going in there. Not super crazy. It's like 1 dB of compression. There was a little boominess in the voice that I got rid of. There was a little bit of mud over here, and again, as you can see, emphasize these frequencies over here above the 2000. That's where our ears are most sensitive to the human voice. The human voice lives around here-ish. So that's why those are emphasized, so you can understand what she's singing. Fresh air, a little bit more aggressive here. And then, of course, at the end, a de-esser. I've been meaning to check out the Black Salt Audio de-esser. I think they have a special of like $20. You might end up seeing that in future videos, just because I'm a sucker for the one knob plugin type deals. So if there's something that'll give me a better result and it'll be easier, then by all means. But let's check out how this voice sounded before.
La que me sostienes, en tus manos están mis tiempos, en ti confío, mi Dios, y jamás seré.
So overall, just adding a bit of polish to it. Of course, the reverb over here on the buffs. And then let's check out. I think this is supposed to be muted. I don't have a lot going in the background vocals. Brandon is very good about producing his stuff, and he just sends me a stem. All I did was I EQ'd it to fit a little bit better in the mix. Again, just getting rid of some mud, emphasizing the voice, and a little bit of fresh air. Again, this is just so it could stand out a little bit better in the mix. But overall, this has pretty much the same thing here with the added Supertone cleared, because we recorded here in the studio. We had some noise that day, so I got rid of that. We had some fan noise. I had yet to install the air conditioning, so if you're hearing this now, it probably sounds a lot cleaner because I don't have the fan running. Now it's just the air conditioning. Probably still hear those bell chimes, but can't really do much about that. Same thing, Melodyne, Filk channel, pretty much the same thing. We added an additional pitch correction here. For whatever reason, it might have just been a little bit too pitchy, even with the Melodyne. Again, just to kind of get that super clean vocal. So let's hear how this sounds in context.
No hay problemas grandes para ti. Sé que tú eres fuerte para contar la que me sostienes. En tus manos están mis tiempos. En ti confío, mi Dios.
So in general, as you can see, it fits well. It's in the mix. Obviously, this is mastered as well, so that's why it's all gonna fit in together. So that's a good transition to talk about what I'm doing for mastering. And what I do for mastering essentially is just ozone. I have a mastering chain of several plugins that I have built up over time, different mastering and mixers that I like the way that they make their mixes sound and kind of go through that. Mastering is a process where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Mastering is just meant to give it the loudness, make it sound competitive, but nobody's gonna you shouldn't be spending too much time in mastering if you're not a genuine mastering engineer. I think these mastering type plugins will probably get you 90% of the way. Maybe a genuine person making all the choices, which I do end up making choices anyway, but it's not like it used to be where you needed to get a mastering engineer. Now you can kind of get away with these plugins that do a lot for you, and they can just elevate your mix and give it that final level of polish. What I do is I run it through the AI. I let it analyze it a little bit, and then I'll just come in individually on the modules and then adjust them as needed. But this is how it sounds like before mastering and then after mastering. So right off the bat, it's a lot quieter, obviously. So something that you have to be mindful of, obviously it's louder. So your ears will want to say it sounds better because it sounds louder, though that's a fallacy. So I always like to gain match it and then bypass and then not, so I can see what's actually happening here. It'll probably sound a little bit low and a little bit below everything that you're listening here in the video. So if you have headphones and you're going to raise them up, beware. It's going to be a little bit lower, then it's going to be louder. So be aware of that, please. Gonna raise it up now. So what's happening here with the mastering plugin? So it's like, if you hear it without, it's like everything, it sounds okay, but it has like this blanket to it, and it's almost like the mastering just kind of opens it up, right? That's what we're looking for when it comes to mastering. I didn't do anything on the rebalancing of master because I have the mix, so I don't really have to. It just added it there. In terms of equalization, bit of a bump here to give a little bit of extra oomph on the sub and the lows. A bit of a quite a aggressive high boost here at around 10K to just give it that airiness that we were looking for. Make sure that we're having a good stereo image, good clarity. I think this in the preset was around maybe 10, and then I gave it a little bit more clarity just because, again, it sounded a little bit muffled, so we wanted to give it a little bit extra clarity. Stabilizer, so this is trying to change transients and things like that. Dynamic EQ. These are overall usually pretty problematic frequencies around the 200, around that mid-range to 500, around the 2K. These are a little bit problematic because they're good, but they can sometimes get a little bit much. So these more dynamic EQs make short work of that. Just whenever it feels a peak after a certain point, just drops at a couple dB. Nothing too extreme. When we're talking about mastering, we really want to be as gentle as we can. And if something's not loud enough, go back and fix it in the mix. If you do not have access to the mix and you are just mastering, if I were to do this just mastering, then I'd probably come in with the master rebalance if maybe the vocals needed a little bit more work or something like that. Generally, I have my own mixes, so I haven't had that issue yet, but that could happen where someone can pay me to just master a track. And in this case, I'd probably do a combination of Ozone and other plugins just to have more control over what's happening. And then, of course, the maximizer. We have a soft clipper here. We have upwards compression. We're having quite a bit of gain added. Again, this is we're pushing to -8 LUFS, so it's pretty loud. I do not master to -14 as Spotify has you do. I think if you're doing that, you're doing a tremendous disservice to your music. Don't do it. Don't let Spotify win. They can't stop all of us if we all master at these levels. So they're just going to have to change, because at the end of the day, -14 is crazy low. And, in my opinion, it just doesn't sound as good. Hey, Editing Sebastian here. So I have neglected to mention that I have a Fiverr account. So if you were looking to check out one of your mixes, to work with you, to master, really anything that you saw in this video that you feel like you want me to work with you, I am open to working with really anybody. It doesn't matter the genre. Obviously, I'm a little bit more versed in more rock music, pop punk, or softer rock like you saw in this video, but I do a little bit of everything. So if you're looking for a mixer that can provide a lot of really good feedback, I really like getting into the writing process. If that's your thing, if you just want someone to mix and master, we can also just do that. If it's something that you want to check out, go ahead and check out the Fiverr. If nothing else, it'd really help if you could maybe share the gig with anyone that you feel might be interested. So yeah, thanks so much. So we're just getting a couple of dB of gain reduction on the limiter, and we're pushing up a little bit on the transient emphasis. So that's pretty much what I'm doing for mastering. Like I mentioned, I'm not per se a mastering engineer, I guess you could say. I think I've seen a lot of really good mastering engineers and a lot of good mixers use this plugin, and it's just a tool. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing if I do some woodworking, right? If I make a table with just hand tools, is it any less valuable that I use power tools, right? There's a lot of, I guess, philosophical debates. I personally don't care for them. I think if it sounds good, it is good. And if AI helped you a little bit to just give you that helping hand, at the end of the day, I do end up making informed decisions, right? So I choose a little bit more of these curves. Maybe I emphasize them more. Maybe I give a little bit more impact. Maybe I push the mix a little bit wider. Maybe I add more clarity. Maybe I stabilize it some more. So all these things are things that I choose to do. I don't just chuck the plugin, call it good, and go to sleep. I do make decisions based off of this. I also employ top-down mixing. So I will sometimes, once I have the arrangement done and I have the mix generally where I want it, and essentially I think to myself, okay, this is looking good, this is where I want it to be, then at that point I can go and I chuck Ozone 11 on there, and I'll see what it does, won't touch it. I'll come in and remix maybe some things that stood out to me. Maybe the kick was a little low, maybe it had too much bass, maybe we had too much transient information, too much snare, the voice was kind of muffled. And I'll fix that in the mix and then I'll come back into Ozone and make my final adjustments. So I'll kind of go back and forth to get the best possible result. But like I mentioned, this track is mastered already. The artist has it. So I'm not going to touch a whole lot. So this video was a little bit different than the other one. So I do apologize if you maybe wanted to see a little bit more in depth. But hey, I have a couple more songs on the pipeline. Been working on them with a different artist. And next videos we'll probably be talking a little bit more about that. Different genres, all good things. So if you like the process so far, stick around. I do really appreciate, we're actually growing a little bit in subscriber count. We're getting a lot of more views, so I do appreciate it. If you take your time, please subscribe, like, share with your friends, comment below anything that you feel you learned. If you don't like the mix at all, also comment that. I'll be sure to dislike you and remove your comment. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for supporting. See you in the next one.